I'm not sure if I've ever seen a slate like this. We got three games, and they start at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. I don't recall a slate ever starting this slate. But yeah, three games. Again, I'm making this video early as the Wednesday slate is going on right now because it's going to be a travel day for me tomorrow. So I wanted to get this video up. But yeah, guys, welcome. My name is DK. Again, we'll be talking about the three-game NBA slate that starts very, very late. I also do make content for NFL DFS. If you're interested in the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate, I have a video up for that. And then also make videos for Prize Picks. They are the sponsor of the video. Make sure to use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. Take advantage of that free money. Again, Prize Picks, a lot of fun player prop site. A lot of different sports. You can mix and match. So give it a try, guys. Use that code. And if you're looking for premium content, you can check out my Patreon link down below. Okay, so first game here, we got the Spurs and the Kings. So I mentioned how I like the Spurs and GBPs last slate because they burned everyone the previous slate. And a lot of these guys did very, very well. Hurdle, 1 for 50 plus. Keldon, Vassell were solid. Trey Jones didn't play that much, maybe just because it's his first game back, but I would expect his minutes to go back up. As far as, the main Spurs, I think the main guys look relatively similar. Keldon, Hurdle, Vassell, I think they all look solid. It's a good matchup, so I don't know if I have any strong leans here. But yeah, the main three guys think look pretty good, and I would expect, again, the minutes to bump back up for Trey Jones. He only played 23 minutes last game. Previously, though, he was playing low 30s minutes, so if that's the case, I think he's a pretty good option in the mid-range. So we'll keep an eye on it. We probably won't get news because it's pop. But Jeremy Sohan, he's going to continue to start. He should play 25 to 30 minutes. Most likely going to give you around 20 fantasy points. He's a fair value. Charles Bassey going to back up Pirtle. If you think the game blows out or you think Pirtle gets in some foul trouble, you could definitely look to Bassey, who's been good. Good point per minute. And then off the bench, a couple viable guys. Jay Rich, Bates Diop, McDermott. These guys should all play, low 20s minutes. I think my favorite of the bunch would be Josh Richardson. Moving on to the Kings. So that tilted me really last night with the Kings. I was all over them. All these guys were smashing. Murray gets injured, and then the game randomly blows out. So that was very, very frustrating. But Fox, Sabonis, I like them both. Spurs, not great defensively, so both Fox and Sabonis should play mid-30s minutes in a competitive game. That's where the offense is run. But I like these secondary options, too. And keep an eye on Keegan Murray. If Keegan Murray does not play, there's a lot of different ways they could go with the starting lineup. They could throw one of these low usage, like a Trey Lyles or Casey Okpala in the starting lineup. Or if they wanted more offense, they can maybe go to a guy like Terrence Davis, who had 60 fantasy points last game. So that is pretty important. But yeah, Kevin Huerter, he's going to play low 30s minutes. He's been pretty consistent. I think he's a good option in the mid-range. Malik Monk was on pace to smash, and then again, of course, random blowout. But he's someone that, his minutes have been a little bit up and down, but he is a good scorer. Harrison Barnes, if there's no Keegan Murray, I'd feel a bit better about his minutes. So that's going to be somewhat important there. Keegan Murray, if he does play, fine for GPPs. He's been up and down, but we've seen that ceiling from him. Again, if he misses, I don't know what they're going to do with the starting lineup. Again, they could throw someone like a Terrence Davis and Malik Monk in there, or they could. What I think happens is they'll probably throw Casey Okpala or Trey Lyles in the starting lineup. Wouldn't have a ton of interest in either. I guess maybe if it's Trey Lyles, I'd have a little bit of interest in him. But he's kind of been out of the rotation. Metu, he's playing the backup 5. If you think Sabonis gets in foul trouble, you can take a shot on a 3.1K Metu. But yeah, that's basically it for Sacramento. Brooklyn, so they got destroyed last game by the Kings. KD at 11-6. A little bit tough to prioritize him, but obviously the ceiling's massive on KD. He went for 72 4 games ago. So if you have the salary, if you feel comfortable with enough value, you can definitely get to Kevin Durant. Claxton, Ben Simmons are kind of splitting the center minutes. They played a little bit alongside each other. Both were not great. Claxton was awful last game, but I think he's a nice bounce back candidate here. Then Ben Simmons, minutes, again, have not been amazing, but I think those two guys are fair tournament plays. Royce O'Neal is also awful last game, but more often than not, he's going to give you, 25-ish fancy points, which makes him a fair option there in the mid-range. Joe Harris should play big minutes, relatively scoring dependent, and most of the time he's going to give you 15 to 20 fancy points. Two value plays I'm intrigued by here: Seth Curry, Cam Thomas. These are the guys with the highest ceiling of these Nets value plays. Seth Curry, again, was on pace for a solid game, blowout. Cam Thomas did play a little bit in that blowout. But those two, I think, are definitely good GPP plays because those are guys that if they get their shot going, they could definitely pay off their salary. Sumner, he's going to start at the point guard position. He's going to play like around 20 minutes. He's been fine, so he's also playable. His small forward eligibility, so a little bit easier to get him in the lineup. Watanabe will be in the rotation, but probably not going to do much with the minutes. You'll see a little bit of run for Patty Mills, but not enough for me to consider him. On the Portland side, so Jeremy Grant, I guess, is the best player to ever play. I'm going to continue to fade. If he continues to average 50 fantasy points a game, so be it. I'll continue to lose. Damian Lillard, 10K, solid GPP play, good matchup. Can't really prioritize him, but we know the ceiling is very high on Dame. Simons, just kind of indifferent on him. Now, it was interesting. Nurkic in his first game back only played 15 minutes. Wasn't really in foul trouble. They went to a lot of Eubanks, so keep an eye on this news. If they continue to limit Nurkic, you can go to Eubanks, who did play over 30 minutes off the bench. So monitor that one. Josh Hart, again, kind of like Simons, just there, maybe a little bit overpriced. Winslow also, he could be back. He could take away minutes from some, guy like Eubanks or even Nurkic because they go small at times. Probably not looking at anything else on the bench here, though, for Portland. So let's finish up with Detroit and the Clippers. For the Pistons, no Cade, no Isaiah Stewart. So I would guess we get Marvin Bagley at the 5 and a starting lineup of Hayes, Ivy, Bogdanovich, Bay, and Bagley. So Jaden Ivey, he should be their main playmaker. 34 minutes now, back-to-back games. I think he still looks like a pretty good play even at this price point. Bojan, Bay, kind of indifferent on them. We've seen a couple big games here from Bojan Bogdanovich of late. Sadiq Bey, been struggling a little bit, but those two should play over 30 minutes. Marvin Bagley, I'm guessing he's going to start at the 5. If he does, I kind of like him at this price point. Ceiling and floor goes up when he shifts to the 5. Killian Hayes was pretty tilted about this. Randomly just didn't close last game. But previous to that, 35 and 34 minutes. So at 5K, if he closes, I like him. If he's only going to play 2.5 quarters, not so much. Off the bench for the Pistons, Alec Burks probably plays around 20 minutes. He's a fair play at that price. Jalen Duren, fine GBP play. He'll play the backup 5. Not a bad point per minute guy. If Bagley gets in foul trouble, you could get extended minutes for a guy like Jalen Duren. You'll see Hamidou Diallo in the rotation. He's playing about 15 or so minutes, just a dart throw in tournaments. You'll see a bit of Isaiah Livers, but not a great point per minute guy either. So again, just a dart throw. Finally, the Clippers. Paul George, questionable. No surprise. He is also on my best ball team. So this is huge news for the Clippers. If Paul George plays, and we kind of know what's going to happen. Paul George is going to be their go-to guy. He'd be a solid tournament play. Everyone else kind of look like secondary plays. Now, if Paul George, we also have Luke Kennard, doubtful. So that's another, piece or more minutes in this rotation. He'd been starting. I would guess they start Terrence Mann, but we will see. But yeah, if there's no Paul George, then like all these secondary plays are going to look really good. Like Wall, Reggie, Powell, Mann, Morris, Zubac. There's going to be a lot to like here for the Clippers. I would guess if Paul George does not play, that you probably get Norm Powell in the starting lineup. So my guess if Paul George doesn't play, starting lineup would be Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, Norm Powell, Morris, Zubac. So then you'd see John Wall off the bench. He'd be the 6th guy. Batum off the bench, 7. Covington off the bench, 8. And you probably get a little bit of Amir Coffey as that 9th guy in the rotation. That would be my guess for the rotation. So again, would really, really like these guys if Paul George is out. As far as leans, everyone just looks pretty good if there's no George. Norman Powell's been a frustrating roster, but he's only 4-2. Reggie and Wall would just get a lot more usage. I think my favorite play might be John Wall. But yeah, Morris would probably play big minutes. You get a lot more run for guys like Batum and Covington. So really, this team would be probably my favorite team to target if Paul George is out. Now, Paul George is in. Again, it's kind of just Paul George and then some secondary options. Zubac has been really, really disappointing of late, but we know that ceiling is still there for him. Marcus Morris would still play good minutes, but would just be a secondary option. I would still like John Wall, even if Paul George plays, just because he's been a high-usage player off the bench. Norm Powell, again, 4-2. If Paul George plays, kind of just secondary option. Man, if Kennard's out, should see decent minutes. Fine. Batum, Covington, fine. So they would look a lot less appealing if Paul George plays. So that would be a big one to monitor for sure with the status of Paul George. But hey guys, that's going to wrap up the video. So if you have been enjoying the content, just make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And I'll see you guys all in the next one.